Mom and Dad and family, it's Shawn. I thought I'd give you a little feel for what it's like here in the fall. It's actually October 31st today. And there's the house. And just show you some of the color we're having here. It's not the best day today. It's a little bit overcast. But at least it's not raining. So I'll just take you down the street here and show you some of the color. There's our neighbors there across the street. And so it just kind of gives you a sense for some of the color here. So anyway, we'll walk along beside the house here. There's Tobi. He's ready to go for his walk. Okay, around the side onto the back patio. And this is looking out the back part of the house. And we'll just, if you give me a second here, we'll throw the ball for Tobi. And so he just kind of does his thing back there. And here he comes. So that's his exercise, and he goes and poops on the trail, which is awesome. So just show you our little bird sanctuary back here. There's our little pond and some trees and hummingbird feeder and a little bird bath thing there. And we've got our corn for the robins and the squirrels. And we have some feeders down along the fence there. And some feeders there. So I thought I'd take you guys with me on a run and take you down on the trail with me. So here we go. So here we are down on the Cedar River Trail. There's Tobi ready to go. And so we're going to take off down this way. Oh, the sun's coming out on the Cedar River Trail. So let's go for a run. Before we go, just show you the backyard here. Here we are walking and jogging down the trail with Tobi leading the way. Okay, here we are on a section of the pipeline trail. I've jogged down about a half mile and we're coming up to a stream, so I thought we'd take a look and see if we see any salmon. It's the end of the run, so let's just see if we see anything here. The salmon have been running here for about 4 weeks. We've had about 60,000 salmon come through, and this is a feeding stream that feeds into the Cedar River, and I'm not seeing anything here. Let's check the other side. Coho and Chinook, and there's another type of salmon, I can't remember, that come through here. And I'll tell you a little bit more about the Cedar River a little bit later. But yeah, so you can see there's a whole bunch of salmon down there. On this side, I'm not sure how well this is going to show in the camera. So basically these are 4-year-old salmon. They are coming back to lay their eggs, and they will die after they lay their eggs, and you can see that's what happens to them. And they're reddish in color because they haven't eaten in several months, and so they actually ingest their scales, which is why they turn red. And this is, again, the very last of their life. They'll be planting their eggs. I learned yesterday that the males are the brighter ones in color, and the females are the less bright ones. But you could see them there. And so again, this is the end of their run. They've been running for about 4 weeks. We had peak salmon come through here in 1988. There were over 600,000. Now the salmon run, like I said, it's somewhere between 40 and 60,000 this year. And like I said, I'll tell you a little bit more about the Cedar River later. But this is just a little salmon stop here on the way. And we'll pick it up and continue my run. Continuing along our walk run here, still on the Cedar River Trail, or I'm sorry, on the Pipeline Trail. And you can see the beautiful color in the trees here. Actually, we've lost a lot of leaves at this point, but you just see the all right, here we go. Tobi and I are taking a trail, cutting through from the Pipeline Trail to the Cedar River Trail. So you can see we actually live on a trail network. Tobi knows where he's going. And we're almost to the Cedar River Trail. And here we are. Okay, this is the Cedar River Trail. Let me tell you a little bit about it. The railroad used to come through here that went from Seattle to Milwaukee. It was built in 1908, was torn down in the 70s, and this is a railroad you would have taken to get from Seattle to Milwaukee. We're actually looking away from Seattle towards the pass, so you would head from Seattle down this way, the direction in which I'm walking, go over the pass and on into eastern Washington and through Montana and so on. The train was torn down in the 70s due to basically the energy crisis and lack of use. And it was part coal powered and actually part electrical powered. And so I'll tell you a little bit more about the train in a second. We're still on the Cedar River Trail. I've jogged up about a mile, and now you can see we're paralleling the Cedar River. You can hear it. And the Cedar River, so this is flowing down from the pass, from Snoqualmie Pass, down to, it has about a 21-mile journey down to Lake Washington, and then from there it feeds into Puget Sound. And this is one of the 4 cleanest bodies of water in the U.S. And about 3 miles up this path is where they divert the water. So about 20% of the Cedar River is diverted for drinking water for Seattle. And they have to monitor that very carefully. They can't take too much water because we have floating bridges and it would affect the floating bridges, but they have to take enough water too. So it's very carefully managed. And so that's the Cedar River. So I wanted to tell you a little bit more about the train. So like I said earlier, it ran through here from 1908 through about 1978 and carried passengers and freight and whatnot. Of course, now it's a trail. And back in those days, the toilets would just go out on the ground. And they couldn't allow that here because of Cedar River and the fact that it's used for drinking water, and it was back then too. So what they used to do, again, about 3 miles up the trail from here, there are bathrooms, and the train would stop and let people out, go to the bathrooms. You can still see the bathrooms. They have a sign on them that says 1939. They're brick buildings. And let everyone go. And then everyone would get back in the train. And someone from upstream would actually board the train and lock all the restrooms and keep them locked for 15 miles downstream, going back down that way. And then get off the train and unlock the john. So there is no excrement allowed on the tracks on this section of trail. Thought you would enjoy that tidbit about the train. The river gets pretty rough in spots, and you can see that here. And we're going to look at it a little bit more closely in just a minute. And now we're coming up to one of the trestle bridges, and of course now it's been paved and fenced and everything, but so we're going to be going over the Cedar River. And so at this point we're about 2 miles from the house. And this is a typical walk or jog for us. And we'll look out here on the Cedar River. Again, we're about 20 miles upstream from Lake Washington. Yes, the salmon will come up this far and farther to spawn. This section of the stream is a little bit deep and rough for the salmon, although there may be some over towards the banks. But yes, the salmon will come up this far and farther, even much more upstream. Typically they return to where they were spawned. And a salmon egg takes from 90 to 120 days to become a little fish. A salmon will typically lay about 3,000 eggs. About 30 of those eggs will turn into little fishies. And of those 30, hopefully 2 will become adult males, survive for 4 years, and come back and spawn here. So 2 out of 3,000. The fish will typically, their first year, swim downstream and spend about a year in Lake Washington. It varies by type of salmon. And then go out to the ocean, spend 2 or 3 years in the ocean. And if they're not fished or diseased or otherwise killed, will come back into the lake, and then eventually upstream they have a 4-year lifespan. And we're jogging back home now. Again, Tobi leading the way. Cedar River now on our right on our jog home. As far as wildlife in here, I've seen deer, I've seen elk, and haven't seen any cougar or bear, although they say there is some bear.